you want to save money on your trading card purchases, we have a promo link over at 50cards.shop. Enter the promo code ATNIGHT to get 5% off your order.
You ride.
The Messiah, ladies and gentlemen, the Messiah.
Why, hello, friends and well-wishers. Welcome to another deck profile here on the Nexus at Night channel. I'm Atlas. That's my name there. And today we are going to be talking about Messiahs. Now, this is a Messiah deck profile that is meant to work post-History Collection, which at the time of recording this comes out in about a month. So for people watching this in July 2023 who are like, what is going on exactly? There's pretty much your answer. On Decklog, where I'll be doing this deck profile, there are a couple things that don't have their erratas like physically on the card yet, so it might be a little confusing. I highly recommend that you look up History Collection 2023 for a little bit more context. And so for people watching who are just like, I don't understand, where's the V V Alter Ego Messiah, and they're just like, it's not going to happen. So why don't we get into the deck list here, because this might look a little weird on paper. Why don't we start with the main grade 3 here? Your main grade 3 is Alter Ego Messiah, the G version. So this recently got reprinted in the Messiah deck set for Standard. This is the one from back in G era that you can use either from that deck set, or if you have old copies back in your commons and you want to pull them out, this is your first grade 3 ride you want to use. Now, when I say first grade 3 ride, that is not to say that you can't stay on this all game. You definitely can. But with how the rest of the deck works, there is like a pattern that you're supposed to follow. And normally I'm not a fan of those patterns, because it's like, if I have to ride this first and then this, and they don't search each other, that's kind of bubkiss. But luckily there's enough cards in this deck that facilitate searching that I think you can run weird patterns like this. So Alter Ego Messiah is, he can get a lock off on the opponent's field, which doesn't sound very impressive, but in this latter day Link Joker era, they're not really giving locking the opponent's board much credence. So for Alter Ego's Messiah's Stride Skill, allowing you to lock something on both boards, that can really come in handy. And then the Soul Blasting and drawing does kind of come in handy, but you normally get like 1 to 2 cards per game, which is fine. It's not really the super important part, but this is the first grade 3 you want to ride. In terms of the rest of the grade 3s, I'll get this out of the way. Volko Dode is never going to be not good in Link Joker, so him being able to give 10k to a rearguard after he attacks while locking himself, which on paper sounds bad, but with the way the rest of the deck goes, for those who don't know, when a card is unlocked, it comes out standing, which means for Link Joker, cards that can lock themselves in the battle phase only to be unlocked by either your Vanguard or the rearguards means that you get multi-attack out of it. Combine that with Force 2, you get a lot of pressure. Volko Dode being a 30k base means that he's swinging for 30k with 2 crit by the time you hit turn 3, and that's a lot of pressure, dude. So I originally had it at 3, and then I was like, if I don't see Volko Dode, it makes the game a lot less helpful for me, but luckily there's enough card draw and enough searching to where, for the most part, you can find at least one of these. And also, your opponent tends to leave these alone, because being a 30k base, if they have to like get up into the 30s to 40s to even bully this thing, this isn't going anywhere unless they have removal, which there's going to be a lot of removal following History Collection coming out. You know, Narukami continues to be good. Nova Grappler are going to have some kind of stuff. Like, pretty much every clan's got some form of removal somewhere. So this might not last forever, but for things like Gurgit, where they don't have removal, this can just be a pain in their butt the entire game. This is where it might feel weird. So Alter Ego Neo Messiah was like the latter day Messiah card back in G era. So when a Messiah G unit strides, which will be pretty much all of them, choose up to 1 card from your hand, call it to rear, choose up to 1 of each fighter's rear guards and lock them. So that's free, which is pretty nice. That's a nice way to, if you ride this on top of the, Alter Ego Messiah, you can have this just be your Vanguard for the rest of the game. Another fun little neat trick, as far as I can tell, is if you use Alter Ego Neo's Messiah's effect to call Vocal Gode, which would normally retire itself on play. But because you have to finish the whole skill first of Alter Ego Neo Messiah, you lock it, and then it's a locked card, and that effect is no longer on standby. If I am wrong about that, please tell me in the comments, because so far as I can tell, I haven't found anything that would tell me to the contrary. So, yeah. The other effect is at the end of the turn, if a lock card was unlocked during that turn due to the effect of your card, which it always will be, you can Soul Blast and draw 2. So lower ceiling than Alter Ego Messiah, but higher floor, where you will almost always get the draw 2. Now, granted, you don't want to be riding this until turn 4. There are games where I've had to ride it like normal, but that's not the worst thing in the world. This is just a solid one of. And then also, Ideal Ego Messiah. That first effect you're almost never going to use, the like putting something on as a lock card and draw 1. What you're going to be using it for is as a stride fodder, which I know. Why is he running as a one of for a stride fodder? I'll get to that. And then the other effect is like it's a good rear guard. So after he attacks, he can lock himself and then get something from the top of the deck as a lock card. So this is really good for like going against decks that can just wipe your field every turn. It allows you to rebuild it after doing your thing. So again, I know this grade 3 lineup looks like a bunch of bupkis. Why are you not running your main guy at 4 of? Why are you only running 1 each of these other Messiahs? What's going on? This is what's going on. So Lady Battler of the Black Dwarf, if ridden upon by a grade 3 with Messiah, you search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 with a differently named Messiah. So if you ride Alter Ego Messiah, you can get either Alter Ego Neo Messiah or Ideal Ego Messiah. I used to have 2 of for Ideal Ego Messiah, but decided against it when I realized you can pretty much just search whatever you want. So, like, playing against a friend of mine, shout out to $10 patron Josh, patreon.com/Nexus at night. Moving on. I had to ride Ideal Ego Messiah, which is like the worst one. But after using Lady Battler, I just grabbed Alter Ego Messiah and then was able to move on from there. It turned out to be a really grindy game because this deck draws a lot of cards. Speaking of, at the end of the battle that she attacks on rearguard, if she was not unlocked this turn, you lock her. So that's not a cost or something you can choose. She has to lock herself if you did not unlock her this turn. But if she has been unlocked this turn, you don't lock her. Instead, you have the ability to counterblast and pick her off to draw 2. So what I was doing before was having her and like Ideal Ego on the other side, where you go like swing with her and then get her off the field, draw 2, and then Ideal puts something else there as a lock card. So that's still like a cute combo you can do, but it's mostly for the consistent searching of that top effect. And also, like, she's just kind of a good card where she gets out of the way and pluses you in card advantage. I really like her a lot. You have the 4 of Gas Thrower, so this is your main way of getting Vocal Gode onto the board without it killing itself. This is useful from turn 2 onward. It's kind of never not going to be good. Like, it just continues to pull its weight. It allows you to cycle, where you're like, all right, I'm going to put this card that is 5k shield on board, and then maybe fish for something with a bigger butt, or, you know, a heal guard or something like that. And then I hate the way Decklog works, where like you don't get to choose the order where stuff is put, because I have the last grade 2 is this guy down here, Infrat Swallow. So every clan is getting these like pseudo Amber clones, where this second effect is going to be in every single one of them. At the beginning of your ride phase, if you have a grade 1 or less Vanguard, you can ditch Infrat Swallow, check top 5 and get a grade 2 or less card. Anything you want. You can get a draw PG, you can get your grade 1 ride, you can get a copy of Lady Battler of Black Dwarf if you're, you know, on your first turn you want to set up your grade 2. This just allows you to turn Infrat Swallow into pretty much anything you want. The top effect is like after he's boosted, you can put something from top of deck to lock card, a la Ideal Ego Messiah. I don't really use that effect much. This deck is kind of hurting for soul. That's the big problem with it. But it is a way that allows you to plus your field without too much effort. But it's mostly for that second effect of being able to have more consistency in your first few turns. So that's the grade 2 lineup. Your grade 1s, you got your Destiny Dealer. This allows you to turn anything into anything else. Like I said, have 3 types of grade 3 Messiahs. This allows you to just search for any type of Messiah with a grade 3. So ideal, Alter Ego Neo, or just Alter Ego. Super nice. There's 4 copies of Lagranjard. I'm probably getting these names wrong, but on that first turn, you can put something down locked and draw one. So that means you can do Volcodode turn 1 and then just have it for the rest of the game. And then the rearguard effect isn't as bad as I thought it was, wherein you can unlock something in Soul Charge, which means that you can set up for your either Infrat Swallow plays, your Alter Ego Neo, or just Alter Ego plays. It's got a 10k shield, which this deck has kind of a shield problem, but not as much as I thought it would. Either way, this is just a good card for that early game, and then the late game, it doesn't do quite as much, but it's still kind of useful. You got your 2 copies of Dunamis Messiah. So the way this works is after he attacks, he locks himself, or after he boosts, he locks himself and unlocks something else. So the way you can do this is you go have this behind a Volcodode. Volcodode swings, locks itself, gives something else 10k. Dunamis Messiah then locks itself to then unlock the recently locked Volcodode, who can now swing with 34. So that's 2 attacks over 30k. And if you did your job right, and this is on a Force 2, both of those have crits on them. So this is a real nice card to have. I didn't put it at greater than 2 because it doesn't really work outside of being behind Volcodode. So that's fine. You also have Sacrifice Messiah. This is your countercharge engine. You never find yourself hurting for Counterblast. The good thing is you can make this. Yes, you get the counter charge off of doing his effect, but you also can make your Gastrorer and Black Dwarf and Infrat Swallow, I guess, hit 13k, which means you can hit Force Vanguards, and that's really good. So this is just never not useful, Sacrifice Messiah. This is a fun little tech that I kind of just used for Soul. I wanted another 10k shield. I wanted something that gave me Soul, and I had already used 4 copies of what's his name. So when he's unlocked, you can put it into Soul, draw 1, and give something 5k. And this isn't GB locked, so that means you can put this down with Langrejard or whatever, and then on that, let's say you put it down with your grade 2 on your grade 3 turn, and then at the end of the turn this unlocks, it then goes into Soul and draws you a card. So that's pretty nice. Not super important. This is like a pretty good flex slot. In terms of flex slots, you have that, or the Ideal Ego Messiah. Before I was running this at 2 of, and then without the Neon Messiah Aurium. So I was doing like 2 Ideal Ego and then 1 V Alter Ego Messiah, which I kind of just used to be a ladder turn ride, to be a 13k base and to make you a 3rd Force 2 marker to put the pressure on. But I realized that, yes, being 11k kind of sucks, but the good thing is Sacrifice Messiah with pretty much anything can make your Vanguard a 14k base on the opponent's turn and Gateway Countercharge, so that's pretty nice. And it's just like something where it didn't really matter all that much, and I would rather have the Alter Ego Neo Messiah to get more draws than I would just having like a 13k base all the time. Plus, you can't search that 13k base when you ride the regular Alter Ego Messiah on top of Black Dwarf. You have to get something with a different name. So Ideal Ego or Alter Ego Neo when you ride the regular Alter Ego. In terms of triggers, heals, 4 of each crit. So one thing to note about these Heart Thumb clones is they're being eroded in History Collection, wherein they now have 15k shield, they have 10k power. That effect is still the same, but it's got a new one, where if you take it as a damage trigger, you draw a card. So this is like half a draw trigger, which means you got to be running these in every premium deck, even if you're not running the Vanguard that effect is based off of. So this is just great. It also gives you Soul, which we really need. Stride crit, draw PGs. Sanctitude is your 4th PG. I know when I'm not using this in tournament, I will use Cosmo Prayer Steady State, whatever it was, the Messiah PG. You can kind of use whatever you want, just one non-draw PG to get around the no grade 0 stuff. So that's the main deck, and then now for the G-Zone. So, again, probably looks a little unorthodox. Harmonix Messiah is also recently errated. This will be in every premium deck, because if you ride going second, you can reveal that Harmonix Messiah to then grab what's called a Guardian Shield, which is 20k shield. It's kind of like a quick shield, but just bigger. So that's great. And then Messiah have the alternate helpful part of being like flipping. This means that's another Messiah in G-Zone, which I'll get to that in a second. This is your first stride 99% of the time. So Judgment Messiah is the old on-hit one, where if you hit something, you lock somebody in the opponent's back row, and then you choose up to one lock card and unlock it. So normally this is unlocking your Volco Dode, which has locked itself. But now the errata, the way it works is if you are on Alter Ego Messiah and you have not gotten an imaginary gift this fight, during your main phase, you can flip a second copy of Judgment Messiah face up. After you discard cards equaling 3, stride it, you get 2 imaginary gifts. So what you'll do is get 2 Force 2s on the rear guards. And then also it's got another effect where its on-hit ability is now just end of battle. So that effect that it's on right now will always go off. So pretty good. It's like pretty solid. The important thing is you have force markers that you can take advantage of with your Volco Dode, Dunamis, Black Dwarf, whatever the hell else you want to do. So he's really great. That's always going to be your first stride. Your second stride is going to be either Excellus Messiah, which came in the deck set, where when it attacks at GB2, so you will always be at GB2 if this is second stride, or it can even be your first if you G-guard it. But when it attacks, choose any number of any player's lock cards and unlock them. If you unlock something, choose the same number of rear guards as the number of things unlocked and stand them. And then till the end of the turn, your front row gets 10k and Excellus gets a crit. So that means you can do stuff where you like swing and you have a column locked on the other side. Excellus unlocks that column and then stands the column on the other side and gives more crit pressure because it's on itself, and then you have crit pressure coming from your rear guards. So this is a great second stride. The other good second stride to go into would be Basaltus Messiah, who allows you to lock more cards besides from stride skill. So this is great for like dealing with force or protect clans that are giving you the business, and you can lock their front row and maybe the rest of their board, depending on when this happens. This is also a potential first stride if you're having some problems with stuff pressuring you. I know with Excel clans, they kind of just don't care because they'll just make more circles and call more stuff. But this is nice to have. I know it's a more expensive card too. So if you're building this and you're like, I need a like budget option, I would recommend you can cut this and run more copies of Cosmic Dawn Dragon, or 2 more Transels, or Harmonix Neo Messiah, or whatever that is. I don't know how expensive it is. But Cosmic Dawn Dragon is something that's generically good in Link Joker. It allows you to rebuild your board if it's completely empty. You can also then bounce stuff from your board to lock the opponent's stuff, or just unlock them for more attacks. I don't really go into this much unless I'm in super trouble, so probably just a one of, which is fine. You have Barrio and Dragon to punish overextension of gift markers. I have not gone into it once since building this deck, but it's there. So and then this is your kill button. So Integral Messiah, if you have 3 or more face-up Messiah in your G-Zone, all fighters, or on play, all fighters shuffle their hands back and then draw 5 cards. So this cannot be done before third stride. Believe me, I've tried. There's no like flip 2 during your Messiah stride turn. There's no G-guard with Messiah in the name. This cannot go off before third stride. However, this deck draws a lot of cards, and the locking can slow the game down to the point where third stride can happen pretty often. So being able to turn your opponent's 10-card hand into a 5-card hand and your 2-card hand into a 5-card hand, pretty nice. The other effect is you, on attack, turn somebody face up, usually that Harmonix Messiah. you unlock all your locked cards, and if you unlock 3 or more soul charge, draw, and he gets 10k. That effect isn't super important. The most important thing is just putting the screws to your opponent. So this is finally a deck that can last to the point where you're doing this, and then also, like I said, with the force 2s and stuff, you're putting the pressure on him. So real good. You don't need to do it more than one. They should be dead by this point. If they're not, you're probably going to deck out, I'll be honest. And then there's also Trans Messiah. Again, this is a panic button. So when you stride it, you have to counterblast, flip a copy of him, and then just switch the locked and unlocked states of the board. So like anything that's locked is unlocked, anything that's unlocked is locked. Pretty simple. Again, this is to punish things like Gurgit, where they go like, all right, I got 5 Excel circles and 6 things on board, or like 7 things on board. Good luck, mate. And you're like, you sure about that? So yeah, those are the main strides. In terms of the G guards, you'll notice that a lot of these, all of them, in fact, require a counterblast or a soul blast. So Big Ripper and Lady Healer both require a soul blast, whereas Cosmo Wreath and Lacustrina all require a counterblast. This can be a bit of a problem because your counterblast ones don't really get you a lot of shield, and your soul blast ones, well, I've already talked about soul. So other things you can do are the one that unlocks 2 when you guard with it, because there'll be turns where you're like, all right, I'm going to go into Big Ripper, lock 2 back row, and then use Sacrifice Messiah to give my Vanguard plus 3k, and then go into the one where you unlock the corners, and then, or unlock Sacrifice and whatever the other one is that you want. That's fine. Like I currently have it at 2. You can put it at 1 or whatever. But yeah, the G guards are decent-ish, but not great. I think if we had a better soul engine, this would be less of a problem. Yeah, this is the Messiah. So yeah, that was pretty much the deck. Let me know what you think. Leave a like or a comment below. What are you doing with your post-history collection builds? Let me know. I'm excited. I hope to do more of these in the future as we get the cards in real life and we test with them more. I have friends who are doing this with me, Richard from Nexus Core, friend Josh, things like that. But yeah, let me know what you think at Nexus at Night on Twitter. I'll see you next time.